Welcome to the farm. Today I'm going to plant seeds and I'm going to attempt to make some sourdough bread. Well, even though it's still cold out, it's time to start seeds. Things like the brassicas, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, and I also need to start some hot peppers because they take a long time to grow. And I also hope to start a bunch of marigolds. So that'll be the seed starting, but I'm also going to try sourdough bread. And I've done it in the past, haven't been completely happy with the results, but I'm going to see how it goes.
I loved it. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's good, just not quite as good as what you see on the YouTube channels. We'll see how well I can do it. And I guess Donnie has a special challenge for me, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, time to plant some more seeds. Today it's time to start the brassicas, the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and I'm also going to be starting some jalapeno peppers and pepperoncini peppers. They take longer to grow than regular peppers. And then I'm going to start a ton of marigolds. I want 1,000,000 marigolds in the garden this year. I mean, they say it's a good companion plant, and last year I did have a lot of marigolds in the high tunnel, and I didn't see one tomato hornworm. I don't know. Plus, they're really pretty. So I'm going to get a bunch of them going, hopefully. So I'm starting out with broccoli, and I'm doing two kinds. I have one called Cariba that I planted last year, and I really liked it. Just nice, uniform heads. It didn't seem to go to seed quickly. It was just, I really happy with it. And then the other one is Monty. So Cariba and Monty are the two broccolis I'm going to plant. And I'm going to start them in these real teeny tiny little cells. And then, because I'm not sure how the germination will be. These are actually seeds from last year, so I'll see how many germinate, and then I'll pot them up once they do germinate. But in the meantime, I don't use a lot of space or soil to get them going. Oh, these seeds, they're nice. They're kind of round. You can actually see them. I'll show you a picture of it then. And I'm just going to drop one in each little spot. And I'll push them down gently and cover them with vermiculite. And all the brassicas will be the same way. Drop the seed, push it down, and cover it with vermiculite. And I'm using the same soil mix I had the other day. Well, I got everything planted. All the broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, the jalapenos, the pepperoncinis, and a lot of marigolds. Got them all in, pushed them down in the dirt, covered everything with vermiculite. That'll help it germinate. And then I'm going to spray it all down real well. And
so those containers, are they the ones that have the like fingers that go down low?
Yep.
Okay.
They're very easy to get out. So once they germinate, I'll just pop the whole thing out and put it into a bigger cell.
Ah.
But these are just nice. They don't take up as much room. And you don't use as much soil. So I'll spray this down twice a day until they germinate. And then when they get a certain size, I'll move them up to a bigger pot.
So once that's all wet down, ready to go, what are you going to do with it?
I'll be putting it on the shelves under the lights.
Well, do you have any room? I think all your chicken fodder's there.
I have room. The fodder takes up 2 whole shelves. And if you don't know what fodder that is, I'm going to grow. I've been growing wheat and barley together. And you start out day 1, you soak the seed, and then you wet it down every day. And after a couple days, I put it in one of these trays under the lights. And between day 1, when I soak the seeds, and day 8, this is what you get.
Nice.
And tomorrow, I will just take this whole thing out, roots and all. And the chickens eat every bit of it. And it's good for them. They have nothing else green in the winter, so they get some green stuff, some grain. And sprouted, I guess, is supposed to be easier to digest.
It looks like a doormat with underneath all of the
It does, but boy, I just take it out and tear it in pieces and throw it around, and they love it.
Yeah.
So now this will go on the shelf, into the lights, and I want to show you the stuff I started last week and show you how it's doing. It's coming up. This is all the seeds I started last week. Remember, I started snapdragons, onions, some chives, some celery, and most of the snapdragons are up, and 2 of the onions are up. Things come up at different paces, but it's exciting to see all the green stuff coming up. And even though these are all snapdragons, some are up a lot, some aren't up as much. They're all different colors, so I guess the different colors germinate at a little different rates. But it's exciting to see all the green stuff coming up.
So do you keep spraying them on top?
For now I am, because not all the seeds have germinated, so I'm still spraying them on the top, but very soon I'll be watering from the bottom. And when they get a little bit bigger, I will be taking these little tiny Snapdragon seedlings out and putting them in bigger pots to finish growing out. I'll be showing you that too, but that'll be a couple weeks yet. Nice. Yeah, it's exciting.
Your labels look good.
Can you read them?
Yeah. Well, somewhat.
That's a first. That's good enough. I'm in the mood for buttermilk biscuits. Now this is a recipe I saw on YouTube by Ben Starr. If you've never watched him, he is a hoot, but he has some really good sourdough recipes and other things. So I've never done this. We'll see if it works out. It uses discard. It doesn't have to be fed sourdough. The sourdough is mainly for flavoring, not for leavening. So start out with 4 ounces of sourdough, 4 ounces of buttermilk, and you blend that all together till it's nice and smooth. And then we will blend all the dry ingredients together and then cut in some butter. Now after you have the sourdough and the buttermilk all mixed up, then start on the dry ingredients. And it's flour, and I'll put the recipe below with the exact amounts. It's flour, baking powder, and salt. And I'm going to mix all that together and then cut in some butter. That's the fun part. And I'm going to do it, I can't find my pastry blender, so he said you can grate the butter on a grater and then put it in. That's what I'm gonna have to do. And my butter's in the freezer to get it really, really cold. I guess that's key to making biscuits. And he just showed mixing the flours and everything together by his hand. So I'll do it just like he did it. How about that? So dry ingredients are mixed. Now I just have to grate up my butter. Got the butter grated. Now I'll put it in with the dry ingredients and kind of get it all stirred around till it's kind of crumbly. The butter's incorporated into the flour. That's the tricky part. That's the part I wish I had a pastry blender for. It would do a better job. Okay, it's all kind of blended together there.
Ruby's right there just in case there's any emergencies.
I dropped a few little pieces of butter. She was more than happy to pick it up. Okay, now at this point, I'm gonna mix the dry ingredients in with the wet ingredients. That's where the fun begins. So, Ben kept emphasizing don't overwork the dough. So I'm just gonna try to gently get it to work together here.
Well, I think you like clumps of butter, right?
Yeah, you do.
You're supposed to.
But he said the more you work the dough, you don't want to develop the gluten in these things. You want it very tender.
Ah.
So at one point then, he got in with his hands. Guess I'll try to do it just like he did it. Okay, let me get it off the fork. And I'll just start smushing it together with my hands.
So
this is a
buttermilk,
it's a pretty messy biscuit.
sourdough.
Buttermilk, sourdough biscuits. Sourdough buttermilk biscuits, technically. Whoops.
Okay.
I'm flinging
What if
sourdough
you
stuff
did
everywhere.
sourdough buttermilk einkorn biscuits?
Oh, maybe that'll be next.
All right.
I don't know if this is right.
Yeah. I'm surprised you can see what you're doing.
If I get too close, I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm going to need to butter the island and get it out on a flat surface and start rolling it out. Not rolling it out, but gently pressing it out more accurately. Okay, I'm going to dump everything out here and just kind of get a little bit more incorporated and then start kind of flipping it over and making layers. Okay, so at this point I'm going to try to gently push it out into a rectangle.
But you're not going to stretch and flop it like you do?
No, not like sourdough bread now.
Okay.
What you're doing here is just starting to make the layers of the buttermilk biscuits, where you fold over and fold it over. And then flatten that out into a rectangle. You know how buttermilk biscuits have all those nice little delicious layers?
Mm-hmm.
So there's somewhat of a rectangle. So it's 3 layers, and when you do this, there's 6 layers. There's 9 layers. I'm going to do it one more time. Add it into a rectangle.
So some folks might not have caught the reference to me about you being able to see before. You were at the eye doctor today, weren't you?
Yes, and I have been wearing glasses for the last few years, but I decided to go back to contacts, which I can see much better further away. But now I can't see up close, so it's back to reading glasses. So if I want to see anything far away, I'm great, but have no close-up vision. Now I'm going to get this rolled out, pushed out to I forget however thick you want buttermilk biscuits to be, and start cutting them out. I hope these are good. Okay, now where'd my biscuit cutter go? Here it is. I went with 2 1/4 inch. I think that's what it says. Yeah, it was in the eye doctor, and Donnie actually sent me a text, and I had the contacts in already. I didn't have any reading glasses, so I couldn't tell what he said at all. I couldn't read a thing on my phone.
I should have said, I'm thinking about buying a new truck. You okay with that?
I think I just did voice to text back and said, I can't tell what you wrote because I have my contacts in and can't read my phone. And I said, I hope my voice to text actually said what I wanted to say because I can't check it. I hope these are amazing. And he said try to get as many of them out as you can the first cutting because you don't want to have to rework the dough anymore than you absolutely have to.
Well, they look like biscuits.
Yep, they're biscuits. Well, he said that sourdough makes it really crunchy on the outside, like a sourdough crust. So
Okay.
I'm going to gently push this back together and get a
Okay.
few more out of it then.
Nice.
And then we'll get them in the oven, bake them. I can't wait to have some with some butter and jelly, butter and jam. That's how I like my buttermilk biscuits. Okay, get a few more out of here. I think I can get 2 or 3 more. I'm going to put these in the oven at 425. I forget for how long. And hopefully they come out looking delicious and tasting delicious. Now I've got to get my hands clean. Well, the last line of the recipe says devour immediately. So that's what we're going to do.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to butter mine up.
Well, I'm not ready either. We're close to dinner time, so we're not going to eat a whole one. We're sharing one. So we're going to have a little bit of butter and honey on it. Well, I might just have butter. Oh, no, I really like honey.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try it first with just butter, because then you can taste the
buttermilk biscuit.
Yeah.
You ready?
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot lighter than I thought it would be.
It is really crusty on the outside.
Yeah.
And that's mostly the buttermilk. I mean, the sourdough.
Yeah, that's a beautiful flavor.
Oh, that's delicious. Now I got to
Yeah.
have some honey.
It doesn't taste all salty like the ones
No.
at KFC.
Well, I like KFC, but hey.
No, these are
You
really
got a little
good.
honey on yours?
Yeah.
I like everything with honey.
Butter is a beautiful thing, though.
Okay, Ben Starr knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
These are delicious.
I don't know, the flavor of the biscuit is so good. Might not want to have anything on it.
You wouldn't have to. Can you tell we're enjoying them? Okay, that's a win.
Yeah.
That is a win. Now we'll see if my sourdough bread turns out as good as they did. Fingers crossed.
Wow.
2 more gardening chores that need done this week. First one is coleus. And if you watched my videos last year, I've done this every year. At the end of summer, I break off a little tip of a coleus, I stick them in water, and they grow these amazing roots. And then when it gets closer to spring, I'm going to put them in soil, and they'll grow. And most likely, I'll be able to snip off another piece, root it, and have double the amount of coleus. So it's a very simple procedure. Dig a hole, stick them in, make sure all the roots are down in there, and put the dirt back around it. So I have both these little guys that are trailing. They trail down over the pots. And then I have these big, beautiful, bright burgundy pink ones. So we love coleus. It's one of Donnie's favorite things. So I do coleus every year. Haven't bought them for 4 or 5 years now. So it's very easy to do. Any kind of coleus. And I'll end up with a bunch of free coleus.
No rooting hormone or anything?
No, coleus will root no matter what. Just stick them in water and they will root. They're very easy to root out. The hard part is when I let them in a little bit too long, you know, the roots are all stuck together and I had to kind of like tear or gently tear them apart. But I think I got enough roots for each one that they'll all be fine. But I mean, there's a ton of roots going down in there, so I think it'll be just fine. And I'm putting in pretty big pots because they're going to be in there for a good 3 months at least. So most of these go on our front porch where it's kind of shady. And they just look really pretty out there. And by the end of the summer, the ones that vine down over are all completely down over the pot. It's beautiful. It really is. Now I'm going to do something I've never done. I'm planting sweet peas for cut flowers. They're beautiful. I've never done them, but looking at the pictures, they're pretty. But apparently they get a very deep taproot, so I'm going to put them in really long things. They're just cups with holes in the bottom. And I had to soak these for 24 hours. They've been in water for 24 hours. I guess that helps them germinate. And they go about 1 inch down. And then just push the soil around. And I'm going to put 2 in each cup, just in case they don't germinate, and even if they do, I think 2 can be in there. I watched one lady talk about, she says she grows them cold. It's like as soon as they germinate, I'll be taking them probably out to the tunnel, giving them some protection, but she said if you grow them cold, they naturally kind of stay shorter and don't get big, long, and leggy. If they're under these lights, they get real leggy. Now this is all just things I've heard. I'm gonna learn. Maybe I'll do some of both and see what happens. But just have to stick them in here. And they actually do not need light to germinate. They can sit them anywhere to germinate. And then see what happens. See how long it takes them. Apparently they smell really good too. Time to try some sourdough bread. Now I was looking through my recipes, and over the years I've downloaded I don't know how many different bread recipes. So I picked one, I'm going to try it. And I'll put the exact measurements down below, okay? And I'm doing it all by scale, by measurement, which they say you have to do. So I have the flour in, now I just have to put the warm water. 275 grams of warm water.
You've made quite a few loaves of sourdough bread, but there are many different methods, aren't there?
Yes. Some make it very complicated, lots of stretch and folds or slap and folds and 5 million different things. And then some people make it easy. Well, like Ben Starr has one, sourdough for lazy people. And it actually didn't turn out too bad. But the very first step of this is just to mix the flour and the water and then let it sit for 30 minutes to really let the flour absorb the water. I guess it's called autolyse. And I even have a special Dutch, Dutch bread, whatever, dough stirrer. I
thought
can't
it
find
was
it.
Danish.
Danish, Dutch, I don't know. I have a special thing just for stirring dough. Think I can find it? No. So, fork it is. Okay, and just so you don't see any more dry flour. And then I'm going to cover it with a damp towel and let it sit in a warm place for 30 minutes. And this is the point they say it's supposed to be like shaggy. Well, it's shaggy, so I think I did that part right. Okay, so I'm going to cover it with a towel, sit it somewhere warm for 30 minutes. Then the next step.
Let's take a look at what it looks like first here.
Shaggy, like it's supposed to look.
Okay.
Okay, the dough sat for a half an hour in a warm place. Now I add 75 grams of my starter, which I fed this morning and looks pretty happy. Hopefully it's happy enough.
So what's that device laying on the table there in front of you?
Right after I said I couldn't find my dough whisk, found my dough whisk. Of course, right after I mixed up my dough without it. It is Danish. And it is really nice for mixing dough up. But now not at this point though, because it's so thick. It's good when you're first mixing it up. Now I just have to get the starter kind of worked in here. And then it sits for another half hour in a warm place. So sourdough is a lot of just sitting and waiting for the next step.
So everybody in their kitchen has an oven or a corner or something that's warm.
Somewhere where it's warm. Okay, cover it back up with the wet paper towel or wet towel. Be back in a half an hour. Okay, been a half hour. Time to put the salt in. And that I'm going to sprinkle it over the top and then work it into the dough with wet fingers. Just get it all mixed in there.
So this begins the artistry of making bread.
I don't know what it begins, but I just want to make sure the salt's kind of incorporated all through there. But then in about another hour, I do start stretching and folding, and I'm only going to do it a few times, and then we'll see what happens. Okay.
So this begins making the gluten, right?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
We'll see. Okay, so I think the salt's pretty much worked in. I'm going to sit it for another hour in a warm place with a wet cloth over it. And then this fun begins. Well, the bread's been in the refrigerator overnight, and we didn't film the shaping of it. It got late and forgot all about it, just shaped it and got it in the fridge. So I'm not feeling real optimistic. We'll see how it turns out. But my pan's been in the oven for an hour at 500 heating up. Time to dump the bread into the pan, the 500-degree pan. Oop, not centered. There we go. Score it and put it in.
Let's see how you're doing this here.
I'm just going to do it with scissors.
Okay.
Okay. Now put the 500-degree, oh, it actually says the pan itself gave instructions to put 2 ice cubes in before you put it back in the fridge. I guess to give it extra steam.
Sure.
So, 1 ice cube, 2 ice cubes. Lid, and back in the oven. And we'll see what happens. We'll either have a nice loaf of bread or a brick. Looks like bread. Now, this is the first time I've baked bread in this oven. And it's the 2 ovens.
Yeah.
So they're both very narrow. It's closer to the top than normal.
Oh.
So, and I don't think I can actually lower that tray anymore. So I wonder if in my case, I should let the lid on an extra 5 minutes. You know. And I guess I didn't score it deep enough because it's still split. But I'm surprised it actually did raise up. It didn't seem like it would. Now the test will be when we taste it. You're supposed to wait till it's completely cool because otherwise it's still kind of baking inside and it's supposed to, you're just supposed to wait. That's hard to do. I was looking at more recipes and I might try some where you actually let them in the fridge for like 2 days. It makes it more sour. Okay. So, because I like the really sour sourdough. We'll taste this and see if it has any sourness to it. But I'm going to be experimenting with recipes. I know my starter is valid because it definitely exploded. But I want to see what recipe I like now. Okay, it's pretty cool. We can't wait anymore. We're not the most patient people. It's crunchy, that's for sure. Holy cow.
That's the way we like them.
Yeah, it's pretty dense. But we'll see what the flavor's like, you know? Let me smell. It smells like I can smell a little bit of sour.
Yeah?
So now
Good.
we'll just see how it tastes.
All right.
Ready?
I'm ready. All right, there we go. The good crunchy outside. Very.
It's definitely dense. I have to work on my spring or whatever it is, but it's good. The flavor is really good.
Yeah, excellent flavor. Dense. It wouldn't be a good sandwich bread as much.
But with a dinner,
Yeah.
good butter.
Dinner bread, or just put honey. You know, that'd be great.
That would be really good with honey. We'll probably have some with breakfast tomorrow with butter and honey. Very good, I think. Okay. I mean, it's not a total loss. It's not perfect sourdough like it should be, but it's good. It's very good. So I'm going to keep trying.
Great job for first effort of the year.
Yeah. And first one in that oven. I am going to find a way to lower that rack so I don't burn the tops.
Yeah.
So I'll learn something every time. Meanwhile, we got bread to eat.
Wow, it's been a busy week, hasn't it?
It really has been a busy one.
Yeah, little this, little that.
Yeah.
But that's typical in the homestead,
Yeah,
though.
pretty much. So we did another week of the Pantry Challenge. And our meals, you know, they weren't anything exciting. We had, one night we had...
Wait a minute, we had steak. That was exciting.
That's what I was going to say. We had New York strip, which he had to cook outside in a windstorm, but it was delicious. It really was good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had an ice cream dessert that night, too. That was pretty daggone good.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of our family favorites.
And a couple times this week, we just went down to the larder and picked a jar of soup, or I went out in the freezer. I have a freezer full of like prepared soups that I've made, and we had some soups. One night we had a roasted red pepper soup. I did a video about that. That's one of our favorite soups.
Well, I love all your soups.
Yeah. And of course, for breakfast, we had a lot of eggs.
Yeah, and egg casseroles.
Yeah, we did. And I even had oatmeal a couple days. So we have all this stuff here, so it's just...
On the days you have
using it up.
oatmeal, I cheat and have a sandwich.
Yeah, well, you don't cheat. We had them in the freezer.
Well, that's true.
He's not a big fan of oatmeal, but I love oatmeal.
It's okay. It's okay.
Now, one thing we didn't get to this week was his challenge.
Yeah, so I can't string you along anymore, but I think this is going to be awesome. What I'm going to do is give you a bowl of, what are they, the wheat kernels?
Wheat berries.
Wheat berries. And a bowl of cream and say, you know, let's say it was 150 years ago, can you make a beautiful loaf of bread and the butter to go on the bread?
Now, does it have to be sourdough?
I would prefer that, but it's your choice.
Okay. Now, I know sourdough is a challenge for me, and I think with fresh ground flour, it's even harder. If any of you have advice how to do fresh ground sourdough bread.
Well, you've done it before.
Not sourdough.
Oh.
I did a fresh ground loaf with yeast.
Okay.
Well, and that didn't even turn out that great. So, I need advice. How to make good sourdough bread using fresh ground flour.
Yeah.
I'll take any help I can get.
Well, and I love your fresh butter, salted butter. That would be good.
I can handle the butter part. The bread's going to be a little more of a challenge.
I think it's...
But next week, I'll probably try to rise to the challenge and see how it turns out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So overall, it was a wonderful week.
So thank you for joining us on the homestead for the Pantry Challenge and all the planting and the
all
growing.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see you in our next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.